This is Nissan Philippines' Patrol Royale. Well, not this one entirely because this is the vanilla version. It's all just vanilla. But what we have here today is this one right here. The Nissan Philippines Patrol Nismo. Well, not exactly the Nismo Patrol that we want. Instead, this is just body kit. So you don't get any of your increased horsepower. You don't get improved power steering and suspension. It's pretty much just the vanilla one with some body kits to it. First, I want you to see just how large this car is. So in most of my videos, I would start there, as you would see in the thumbnail. However, when I tried to do it in this car, which I should show you now, this is pretty much how I'm gonna look like. Do you see that? I look like a whack-a-mole just popping out through this because of how large this car is. So anyway, let's move now here to the front. So unlike the vanilla Patrol that we get, this one has your Nismo body kit. So first, the entire car is black. That's the only way you can get it as far as I know. You get the Nismo accents all around, and you also get some red accents. You get this really big intake right here, which cools the engine because you want to drive this in a performance way. Sure. Now, here your lights are very nice as well. You get this nice shape right there. I don't know how to describe that shape, but it looks really good. Then you also get these air vents, which are active air vents, for the definition of active in the sense that they actually work. They actually channel air, but where do they channel the air? To the tires? To the brakes? I'm not quite sure about that. I don't think it really cools anything in here, but again, it's active because air does flow through it. Now these rims right here, these are like gunmetal gray raised rims, and they cost around 300,000+, which are very expensive, and they're covered in this Nitto Terra Grappler tires in 285 5520s. They're pretty big, and in fact the original, the real Patrol Nismo in the UAE, you can get those at 22-inch rims as standard. So that just shows how huge this car is. Okay, now here you get these vents, which you also get with the regular Patrol, but they're also colored red for that extra performance touch. Adds 10 horsepower with that color. Here you get this big V8 lettering, and I'm not quite sure about the font. It looks a bit amateur to me, but you know, aside from that, the car looks great overall. This the stepboard right here, it also has this red accents, and I love the texture on it. And what's interesting about these stepboards is that, you know how in most stepboards, like after a long rainy day, you're gonna have some like mud on it and some water on it. But for this one, they actually put some small vents there for water to drain and for dust to drain, for dirt to drain rather. Remember those red air vents at the side? And I told you how they add like 10 horsepower? Well, there's a Nismo badge right here, which adds another 50 minimum. And you also get these fake air vents right here, which unlike the front, they don't actually channel air through anything. Now here, it's just so big, this car. I mean, like, sure, a Land Cruiser is roughly as big, but there's just way more presence in this car. It looks way chunkier, and it's also less common than the Land Cruiser in the streets of Manila. So it's definitely a statement to be driving this car or to be driven around in this. And now down here, you get this diffuser that's also accented in red because horsepower, of course. And now here the owner put the Borla exhaust, quad exhaust, just dual actually. So these two are active and those two are just dummies because they don't look great without it. It looks very blank, so the owner was like, why not? So I also asked the owner, why didn't you just make it a quad exhaust? That's because the spare tire for this car is still under here. So the only way to put the legitimate quad exhaust is to remove that spare tire. Bummer, but that's reality. Now anyway, this one has a huge power tailgate. Thank God it is powered. However, unlike the Land Cruiser, it's not split. So that's kind of sad. You can't really do your picnics here unless you do want to sit here, but it is kind of high. And you also get this ridged skid plate, scratch plate, whatever you call it, but it's in this nice chrome trim to it, which feels very plasticky. Now, here with the third row seats up, there's really not that much space to it. However, when you do pull it down, you got a flat load bay. So you can put your golf clubs in here, maybe 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe even 5, then you can stack it up. it's a pretty good car if you want to go golfing. Now to close this, you just press this button right here. And yeah, as with most power tailgates, it does take a while. However, you can just wait and be comfortable. And it'll also suck itself shut in the last second. Under the hood of the Patrol quote-unquote Nismo, you have this 5.6 liter V8 engine, and it's a very, very high engine bay, which produces 400 horsepower and 560 Newton meters of torque. So unlike the legitimate Nismo Patrol, this doesn't have the 428 horsepower engine with the 70% better, more usable torque range, but it's still a very powerful engine overall. And I must say that this hood is rather light for its size. I mean, sure, you get hood struts, but yeah, overall, it's pretty light. Here inside the Patrol Nismo, first let's check the thud of the door. And while it doesn't sound like the best, it sounds rather reassuring, so that's fine with me. First, let's start the car up, so it has push button start. And as you start the car up, it'll automatically move the seats and the steering wheel back to its original position before I left the car. Let's turn on the AC. So here in the cabin, you can definitely feel that it is a very big car. So the passenger side from my side is incredibly far. The materials here, they're great. So you get soft touch up here. This entire airbag cover is also soft touch. This though is a bit hard touch plastic. You get a nice chrome strip though. Now this one's also soft touch. That's really, really soft. It's softer than the rest of the soft touch, which is odd. Here too, the doors, you also get this nice wooden trim here all over the center as well. But what I'm not quite sure about is this gathered leather, this wrinkled leather thing. Now, usually I love how they look with seats, but for the sidings, it looks a bit odd. And these door handles, they're a bit on the flimsy side. But that's just minor things. The steering wheel is very nice, so it's leather at the back and wood in the front, which is a first. Usually it's just like wood here and like leather here, then more wood here, but this is really weird, but also really nice. That's a nice touch to it. Now this car has the upgraded, well, the owner upgraded it to this Carobotor speedometer that's digital, and it looks really nice. You get a picture of your Patrol in there, and what's interesting about it is that the owner is actually going to receive like a firmware update for it, where it's going to change the picture of the car from a regular Patrol to a Patrol Nismo body kits. Now here in the center, you get this screen right here that it's I believe 8 inches, and it's not exactly the best quality. Like for 2020 standards or even for 2018, it does look a bit outdated. What's not outdated is, let it boot for a while. For you to say, come back some other day. Your 13 speaker Bose audio system, which sounds incredibly good. Now down here in the middle, you get a lot of buttons, and they're not that confusing. Could be a little confusing, but once you get used to it, it's fine. If you put the car into reverse, you get the reverse camera and side view, top view. Oh, that's not touchscreen. Top view, and that's kind of like 360. And you also get a wide view, just in case you want to see the back of your Patrol a little better. Now, here, this panel right here, this is probably the biggest flip-up panel I've ever seen in any car. That's just huge. You know, it usually just covers, like, the 12-volt socket portion or the cup holder portion, but in this one, it's just one solid piece that's also covered in this nice-looking wood to it. Another part over here for a USB port. You get a 12-volt socket, and here you get heated and ventilated or cooled seats for both sides, the driver and the passenger side. And you have this thing that looks like a Land Rover, so it's a swivel wheel thing to change from auto to 4 high, 4 low if you do want to take this car off-road, which you probably won't. You get the rear diff lockers, no center diff lock apparently. Could be wrong. You also get hill descent. You get a bunch of driving mode selections. You get on-road, sand, snow, and rock, which is nice. That sounds very much like Land Rover or, well, Ford. Now, this center console, just like a Land Cruiser, it's incredibly big. It is also cooled as well, but only slightly cooled, and it's really, really wide. What's interesting about this is that, you know how in S-Class it moves to either side? That's not cool enough for you. Well, you get the Patrol because aside from opening it up and down like this, you can also open it from the back like that for your passengers at the back. First in any car I've ever seen. Now up top you get a sunroof, which is quite frankly tiny. It's so damn small for a car this size. This is smaller than the sunroof of even sedans. But that's fine, because what's cool about this is that you have probably one of the biggest sun visors I've seen in any car. So you get lights too, a mirror, and what's nice about this, if you push this to the side, you have this thing that extends to block the sun at the side. Very interesting. Now, for attention to detail, if you open this one up for your sunglass holder, Nissan actually took the time to line it with felt. That way your glasses won't get scratched or it won't get rattled. Now let's go and check on the back. Here at the back of the Patrol, let's check the thud of the door. Sounds a bit better than front. Now let's check the window. If they go all the way down, they do. So kids would definitely love it back here. Now anyway, here at the back, it's a very similar experience to the front. So you get premium materials all over. So the leather, it's incredibly supple. It's definitely way better than the Toyota Land Cruiser. You get your air vents, and one air vent is not enough because you drive in a Nissan Patrol. So you get two per side, and you also get one at the back. Now here on the side, you get the same gathered leather, which again, I'm not quite sure about because it looks a bit off. Right, but at least, you know, legroom is great. There's so much legroom. This is seated back in my driving position, but I am only 5'6". Now if you put this down, you get a nice wide armrest. However, what's hilarious about this car is, like, despite the size and despite even of the size of this armrest right here, these cup holders can fit like a Red Bull can or 2 baby bottles. That's pretty much it. It's like it's compensating for something. I wonder what it is. Now let's close that back up. Now, okay, here in the center, can you see 3 people abreast? Yes, definitely so. More comfortably than a Land Cruiser. It feels much wider and much longer too. I'm not sure if, again, it is definitely longer, but it feels like it is longer. So aside from that, here the only toys you get these climate control at the back, but it's only 1 zone. It's not 2 zone. You get these factory spec head units, like headrest mounted screens, head units, and you also get like the VGA port, so it's like red, yellow, and white. That's it, and that kind of dates the car, but that's fine. This was an old design after all. You get an ashtray here as well, and as mentioned earlier, you can also open the front center console from the back, so if you want to reach something in there, if you want to put like something to cool it a bit, you can do it from here. Now, one last thing about this car is that you can actually recline these seats to a nice comfortable position, so you can just like lounge back in here and enjoy your Patrol Nismo. So to enter the third row of your Patrol Nismo, first you just grab this handle over here and it tumbles forward with some sort of finesse to it. It doesn't just go all the way brash like that. So I love that about that. So step forward first, another step right here, and you climb up over here. All right, now we're gonna close this seat back down. And once that's back in place, it's all right back here. It's not the best, but legroom is not the problem. The problem here is headroom. So if you're anything above like 5'9", 5'8" even, this would be a bit hard for you. It's a bit tight. It's nice though that you do get these headrests, which are very long, so no whiplash injury for you, that's for sure. You get your own air vent as well. You also get 2 cup holders at the side. But one annoying thing about this, I'll just show this to you by putting this down. Note how in the floor, right? So it's quite flat here in the center. However, here where the wheel well is, your foot is slightly raised, like it's raised by like an inch or an inch and a half, which makes it incredibly awkward because there is a difference for your leg. That's kind of weird. That can be remedied by sitting in the middle. However, what you get instead is a whiplash injury. Now, can you see 3 people back here? If they're on the thinner and the shorter side, yes, that'll definitely work for shorter journeys, but longer journeys, you can forget it. Now, what's cool about this is that, you know how in like most third row cars, if you do recline the this backrest right here, it only moves the backrest. But for this car, if you just recline it, the seat bottom moves with it as well to give you a slightly better riding position. All right, so driving the 2018 Nissan Patrol Nismo. So first glance, when you do drive this car, it's quite similar to a Land Cruiser, although it feels much more refined. There's way more noise insulation inside. The seats are so much more plush. The ride comfort is also better, which is quite odd given these, what do you call these? All-terrain tires. So I expected them to ride way worse than a Land Cruiser. Actually, it doesn't. It's quite similar. It is a bit, just a tad more firm, not in an uncomfortable way, just more firm because of the fact that you can corner this car. I mean, not extremely corner it, but you get what I mean. A bit better than a Land Cruiser. It's way better in corners. It doesn't wobble about and boat about that much. On tap, you have a really good amount of power. Now, I can't really floor it because I'm going to get some noise complaints because of how loud this Borla exhaust is. But according to reviews I've seen, it can do 0 to 100 in around 7.7 seconds for the legit Nismo version with 428 horsepower. So this one with 400 should do around just a bit higher than that, probably 7.9 or 8.1 at most. Driving this car is really one big heft of a machine. If you're not used to driving big cars, you will be very scared and very intimidated by this car because it sure is one huge thing. And as I go around this cul-de-sac right here, it does feel like its size, which means that it is a bit burdensome to go around corners. If you want to do like U-turns, 3-point turns, it is a bit big. However, turning radius wouldn't be the worst in its class. Ford Expedition, for example, would be much worse. So now I'm gonna try to like accelerate it a bit, but again, I can't do it very fast. And it's very sprightly. The throttle response is very good. It's very responsive. It's not incredibly SUV-like. Like, it's hard to find an SUV with this much performance unless you're going for something like Range Rovers, which are very premium, or like X6Ms, X5Ms, those M series things that are really sport oriented. So this car can supposedly do off-road quite decently, almost probably the same level as a Land Cruiser. No, that's false. Probably like 80% of a Land Cruiser at most. But its main thing is really its on-road prowess, which is really good. Now, driving this, it's extremely comfortable. So if I would just want to lounge about, I can turn on my cooled seats in a hot Manila day. If you're elsewhere in the world, you can turn on your heated seats. So at least you have the option for that. I can open up my sunroof for extra light, although it is small. It is still a sunroof after all. And finally, I can enjoy my 13-speaker Bose audio system. I love the song choice of the owner in this car. And this is CD, mind you. It has a CD player. So you can enjoy your greatest hits of 90s or early 2000s with no problem. Now as I go up this hill, I'm gonna accelerate it a bit more again. And yes, it really doesn't feel big. Right, sure, it feels very chunky if you're like going around corners and all that, but power-wise, really, there's no complaints whatsoever with this car. Visibility in this car is great. You get really big side mirrors. You get your reverse camera with the 360-degree view as well. And also, you get really huge windows all over this car, which makes looking around this car and going through corners quite easy and simple. Parking this car is definitely a different story, however, because of its sheer size. And you really should use those 360-degree cameras. I know a lot of older folks, like by older I mean older than me, let's say in their 40s, who just grew up without any reverse cameras, and I know they hate using them, but for a car this size, I'm telling you, it's really gonna help you a lot. So just trust me on that. Do sort of rely on your reverse cameras when you do park this car. Overall, should you get this car over a Land Cruiser? Well, one, if you do want to stand out a little bit more, yes, you should definitely consider this. Do you want a car that is way more responsive, way more fun to drive, if any fun at all? Or should you want a car that is just a bit on the sportier side, if I might say? Then this is the car to get. Now, Nissan Philippines has offered this car for as low as, I believe, 3.3 million pesos or even 3.2 million. Like, I've heard some dealers offer that, and honestly, that's a great value for money. You get so much car for that price, and that just is nowhere near the price of a Land Cruiser nowadays, which is getting quite ridiculous. I've seen some Land Cruisers fully spec'd out to like almost 6 million. That's just crazy. This is definitely the car to get. Secondhand, you can probably get this car for around 2-point-something million, which is around 3/4, if not even half of a comparable Land Cruiser. So this is hands down the better car to get. If you're worried about reliability, well, don't worry, because Nissan has a lot of parts. They have a lot of dealers here, so that's no problem at all. Sure, it wouldn't be as reliable probably as a Land Cruiser, but it's still a Japanese car after all, and that should suffice.
that should be good enough for you to rest easy.
If you like this video, please don't forget to smash the like button for the YouTube algorithm. And also don't forget to subscribe to my channel to see more car reviews.